Lisa Frankenstein is the feature debut of director Zelda Williams, daughter of the late Robin Williams, and it was written by Diablo Cody, writer of Juno and, most relevant, Jennifer's Body. That last one was the project that a lot of the marketing focused on. And Cody has gone on record saying that this takes place in the same universe as that one, though I didn't really notice any obvious connections there. But either way, it's very different from Jennifer's Body. While that one was more slasher comedy, this is very much like something that Tim Burton would have made at the height of his career. It does take place in the late 80s and is full of nostalgia for it, which just so happens to be the era when his most well-known works came out. And of course it's about a goth teenager, who meets a reanimated corpse from the Victorian era and they end up actually falling in love. So yeah, basically it's the same kind of bizarre and morbid yet whimsical concept you'd expect to see coming from Burton, but then the plot goes to even darker places. Yeah, there's a lot more murder here. I mean, Edward Scissorhands probably wouldn't even dream of hurting anyone. Sweeney Todd might be as dark, but the movie's not paying tribute to that one. It also feels a lot like Heathers because of this, and maybe just a hint of Jennifer's Body concept-wise. At its core, it's a horror story about a troubled girl who kills some bad people for love. And it's a well-done one. It's a good horror comedy, though I don't think anybody will actually be scared by it, but it is decently funny, with a good amount of sex jokes that push the limits of the PG-13 rating. Yes, this is PG-13. It's a Tim Burton-ish teen movie about falling in love with a goth Cole Sprouse from Riverdale, or Zack and Cody. Still where I know him from. I haven't seen much of Riverdale, but I'm going to say I feel sorry for the younger generation for knowing him from that because I'm old, blinded by nostalgia, and I'm going to be a dick about it. A Disney Channel sitcom with a laugh track about kids who inexplicably live in a fancy hotel that their mother performs at? How could that show possibly not hold up? But anyway, this movie splits the difference between teenage girls and the horror crowd. It's about teen angst and romance with a cute boy, but it's also a twisted, violent movie that pushes the boundaries of what teens can watch without an adult as far as it can go. But it does unfortunately lose steam near the end. It just ends so abruptly and anticlimactically. There's no big climax here. The main character's tragic backstory sets up so much that could have come back with like some sort of big reveal, but it unfortunately never comes back at all. And with all this, the ending just ends up kind of feeling like, that's it? This movie doesn't quite stick the landing, but until then, it's a great tribute to peak Tim Burton. Last week I said Out of Darkness, despite also having an ending that wasn't as good as the rest of it, was still my new favorite movie of the year since I only saw 4 movies thus far. Now I've seen 5 movies from this year, this is my new number 1. This pattern of something becoming my new favorite will probably continue a lot until I see something that really wows me.
This is the best day ever.
It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever.
But who am I kidding? This also sort of wowed me. It's a very dark comedy throwback that mostly lives up to its influences.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Only the second James Bond thriller could be more exciting than the first.
Argylle is from director Matthew Vaughn, the mind behind Kingsman, Kick-Ass, and X-Men First Class. Sorry, the twisted mind behind those movies. So twisted he made a PG-13 attempted blockbuster, and it was written by Jason Fuchs, one of the writers of Wonder Woman. It's about a spy novel writer played by Bryce Dallas Howard who gets pulled into a story of real-life espionage after some things that she writes about in her books mirror real-world events. And it very much is like a PG-13 version of Kingsman. Basically on par with your average James Bond movie in terms of violence, etc. But despite the lack of blood, it still does a very good job of capturing that Kingsman feel. It's not as good, but I don't think the less graphic violence or lack of F-words are the problem here. It starts out really good with how it sets everything up, creating a likable and relatable main character and offering a clear beginning to a potentially interesting character arc. An arc which ends up being delivered in a very unpredictable way, for better or worse. More on that later. It has a good cast including Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, and Samuel L. Jackson, and Henry Cavill, John Cena, and Dua Lipa, who only play the lead's fictional characters. Yet the marketing still has a weird focus on them.
Henry, I noticed that you are front and center in the movie poster.
If you're seeing this movie for them, prepare to be disappointed in their amount of screen time. although when they actually are on screen, they steal the show. And the movie delivers on that comical, over-the-top Kingsman action, especially near the end. A big highlight is the hallway scene involving colored smoke, which delivered everything I was hoping for in this movie. Except, of course, for good special effects. Yeah, the CGI for a lot of this movie is unfortunately really bad. Apparently this movie cost $200 million. They didn't put that money to good use in the VFX department. And many of these CG shots, including the vast majority of the scene I was just mentioning, could probably have been easily done with more practical effects. It would look a lot better and, yeah, it would have probably been a lot cheaper too. And the plot, yeah, not great here. Admittedly, it's more ambitious than anything that the Kingsman movies even attempted. Once again, unpredictable and full of twists and turns. Unfortunately, the biggest one was spoiled years ago when some entertainment news Twitter page tweeted it out as part of the plot. Something that I unfortunately saw a few days before watching this movie. While watching, I was thinking I could probably have seen that twist coming, but unfortunately I can never truly know for sure. Either way, that only happened about halfway through, at a point where it would be understandable to think that that was just something to put into the pitch. But at least it wasn't a big ending twist, and there were still many plot twists to go. Like, so many plot twists. At that big one, it was far-fetched, but then again, it's a Kingsman-adjacent movie, so that's pretty par for the course. But then, with each new twist, it gets more and more ridiculous. And confusing. There are several parts of the backstory that I still don't understand. This movie is a disappointment, but still decent. I'm a fan of Matthew Vaughn's work. I'm even in the unpopular camp that The Golden Circle was almost as good as the first Kingsman movie. The Kingsman prequel, not so much. Argylle is sort of like an inverse of The Kingsman. That movie started out a little underwhelming, but then gets better as it gets more outrageous near the end. This one starts out really good, but gets worse as it gets more outrageous near the end. But that's not a good sign, since this was apparently supposed to be some sort of franchise for Apple Studios, and even... Actually, I'm not going to spoil that mid-credit scene. Although the franchise is pretty much dead on arrival no matter what I think about it. However, the script does tell this nonsensical story in a very compelling way, and the action is very fun if you can look past the bad CGI. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this, and it has enough positives for me to say that I think it's genuinely decent. It's just frustrating because it could have really been something great.
Filmmaker Matthew Vaughn said that not many people can pull off a high top, but he knew you could do it.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully we'll find out if people can or can't, if it becomes popular again.